Hi shooting fans, and welcome to another airgun review with me, Richard Cooper. Today I'll be reviewing the very exciting Umarex Underlever Cowboy rifle in 4.5mm steel BB.
Alright, so this isn't an unboxing video because I've already taken this out and did a test fire and various other bits and pieces, but okay, so this is the box it comes in, and I'd say that this is probably the least impressive thing about this gun when you get it home. The box itself is pretty nice, but what's in it really, you don't get a lot in the box. All you basically get is the rifle, which doesn't even come in a bag for itself. 10 shells. I've got some more, and I would recommend you buy more, and I'll tell you why later on in the video. It comes with 10 shells and no BBs. Amazingly, you always get a little bag of BBs, but not today, it seems. No CO2, no targets, and you do get this manual, which I forgot to put in, and I've taken photographs of the English part of this, so if you are interested in what's in there, you can skip to the end of the video and go and have a look. Okie dokie, so annoying squeaky polystyrene. I guess if you're going to want to store this for long periods, you might want to get some foam for the box perhaps. So let's first of all have a little bit of a look around the rifle. Now I am going to say that the rifle has got some CO2 in it. I put 2 cartridges in yesterday when I did my initial testing. Just quickly, they go in here, and you can do this with your nail, so you don't need a tool. The only tool you need is the one holding the rifle. And your CO2 goes in there. I'll demonstrate that in the shooting part of the review. So I've got 2 in there, and I've probably fired off, I'm going to say, about 40 or 50 shots on the 2 CO2s, and it seems to be still giving decent power. So maybe later I'll be able to figure out how many good shots you get from full charge of CO2. First thing I'm going to say is the weight is really good. I think it says about 2.5 kilos. I don't know if that's loaded or unloaded. We'll find out because I'll put it on the scales later. So I've popped it on the scales, and what's that? Just over 2.5 kilograms. That's pretty much what it says in the box. And it's got CO2 in, and I've just popped some cartridges in. So fully loaded, the weight is going to be 2.75 kilos.
which in pounds is, I don't know how to read, exactly £6. Is that 6? Yeah, £6.
The finish, now bear in mind these are, as far as I can determine, plastic effect, but they are very good plastic effect. I mean, they sound plastic, but even up close they don't particularly look plastic. The area around the action is nicely finished. Looks slightly weathered. Adjustable sight for elevation, as far as I can tell. Doesn't seem to be any adjustment for windage. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that it's elevation only. The quality of the finish carries on to the magazine tube and the barrel. And just to show, this is actually not loaded, and there are no BBs in the chamber. You can see that or not. But if I decock it and put it into safe, then it can't be fired. Have a quick look, and it's a semi-recessed barrel. I don't know if the magazine end cap comes off. I haven't tried. Might be something for a later video. I don't particularly want to take it to bits. And it hefts and it feels like a serious bit of kit. Okay, so I'm already impressed when I picked it up. Okay, now there is a little slight bit of damage to the finish here, and I think that's going to be inevitable when you're loading in the shells. You're going to expect to metal on metal. It's going to cause a little bit of wear in that area, but so there you are. I'm guessing this is for some kind of sling attachment. Whether or not it should have something on the stock, I don't know. Perhaps somebody who knows more about these things can tell me. Now, the elephant in the room here, folks, it's called the Cowboy rifle. It's not called the Winchester, and I think that this is probably for two reasons. I think the main one being something to do with licensing. Perhaps they couldn't get Umarex couldn't get the licensing deal with Winchester in the same way that they've done with some of their other recent pistols replicas, that some of which I've reviewed, like the MMP40 from Smith & Wesson. But it is very nice nonetheless. Now the other reason is I'm not sure what model this would have been copied from. It's like, I think it's like a generic underlever rifle that's kind of Winchester-ish, rather than being modelled on a specific one. Now, I think that if you know a little bit more about weapons from this era than I do, then perhaps you can tell me. I did a bit of quick research on the web last night and saw lots of images, and I think the later rifles are much more like this one, although there are a number of things that are different, particularly like the design of the stock, which don't seem to be quite the same. And also this is a shorter barrel than a lot of the Winchester rifles that I saw when I was looking, because this is probably a carbine, definitely a carbine. So, you know, the original SBR right here. So, enough chit chat. Let's get down to the bit that everyone really is interested in, and that's the shell loading action. So, right, let's load some shells. I said I was going to do that. Let's do that. Yeah, let's just tip everything out everywhere, make a mess. So, you would normally load the BBs into the rear of the shell, and then just like you see in the movies, you push them in one at a time to 3. Right, hang on. 4, 5. Lost count now. I think that's 10, so yeah, good. Oh, that's gone on the floor underneath the dog. Alright, so once the shells are in, you need to cock it so you can fire it for the first time. You pull the handle back and the first shell will pop up, and then lever return to the fire position. This obviously cocks the hammer at the same time. Now, like I said, there are no BBs or anything in these shells, so I'm just going to discharge that into a safe area, which we'll say is my new hoodie over there. Alright, it goes with quite a decent noise as well. So to reload, okay, now what's actually happening is the shell isn't going into the breech. There is no breech. All that's happening is that this part of the assembly is just sliding. Note that this area here, that's the bit that has got the gas tubing, I guess. It pushes up to the rear of the shell to give a better seal, and then this bit just slides over the top to give the illusion that it's going into the breech. Okay, now I can reload some more shells at any time if I want. Okay, so combat reload there, and it will cycle and eject the shells. And I'm just trying to do this in a way that doesn't mean that they're all going to go on the floor. Oh, I did get a double ejection there. I don't know whether you noticed that. I have noticed that happen one at a time. I don't know what causes it, so we'll investigate that. You can put a single shell in, but you have to kind of put that end in first and fire one, and then obviously when the rifle is empty, you can see that there's a clear breech. Obviously it will still discharge gas when it's cocked, because it's not a real firearm, so there is always the off chance that one of the BBs has become lodged in the barrel, and that is still a live weapon, even though there's no shell in there. So just be aware that we need to make sure that we are discharging our gas in a safe area, even if we know that there are no shells in. So start off, as far as I can see, when it's in the safe position, that's the safe position, with the switch towards fire, which seems a bit odd, but you can't operate the action, and the hammers won't move, and if it was, you can't engage the safety while the hammer's cocked, so you'd have to decock first. Okay, obviously bear in mind that with BB guns, and I've discussed this in a lot of videos, I'm not quite sure how reliable the safeties are, so keep your finger away from the trigger and observe safe practice. And it makes a very satisfying noise. Feels pretty solid, and there is a little bit of wobble. The construction seems pretty decent. It's pretty smooth. I don't think you can load shells in while the action's open. Adjustable sights, not quite sure how they work. I think this thing here slides up and down, so you, what do? Do you lift the foresight up, and it's spring loaded for elevation. Comes in the lowest position. It seems pretty robust. There's a little bit of movement in it. Front sight is very easy to spot. It's brass tip. The rear sights I find a little bit difficult to acquire. I might put a little bit of paint on those. I think it's because my eyesight, I find it a bit difficult to focus on things in the near distance. The butt plate is kind of slippy. I think that maybe that could be rubberized. I want that to be rubber, so it's so it doesn't slip on the shoulder, especially if you're wearing sort of a wax jacket or something like that. If you haven't got a really good grip on it, it'll just slide about a bit. Everything looks like it's going to last. Worthwhile mentioning at this point, if you happen to be an owner of one of these lovely things, the Colt SAA, also from Umarex, and this is a licensed version. Well, guess what? The shells are basically identical and are perfectly interchangeable between the rifle and the pistol. And this is pretty much what was intended, I think, with going back to the original design of the these kind of rifles, that they would fire a pistol caliber. And I'm going to see if I can find, here we go. So you might not be able to see this, but on the ones that come with the rifle, the 10 shells that come with the rifle, there's a very, very fine kind of moulding line there, which differentiates the casing from the bullet, I suppose. It's all the same thing, but apart from that, they're utterly identical. And like I said, that I didn't even bother to do any measuring. I just stuck them straight in the rifle, and they cycle and work and perform exactly the same as the other one. So if you've got one of those already, then you've got some extra shells, and that's going to pay off later on.
So that concludes my tabletop review of the rifle. I look forward to seeing you in part 2, where I'll be going over the shooting, operation and maintenance. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, drop us a sub, all that kind of stuff, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video.